Are the Sixers the odds-on favorite to trade for Bradley Beal? That's what we're getting into on today's Philadelphia 76ers Now. But first, I want to hear from you. Should we do a live 76ers Now on Wednesday afternoon? If so, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and type yes. If you type no, then why are you here? You might not like our content. If that's the case, you might be a fraud. All right, let's do it. Happy Monday. Welcome into Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. Hope you all had a great weekend and your weeks are off to a good start. And if you're a Sixers fan, seeing this news from Bill Simmons might have your week going just dandy here in the early going of it. Are the Philadelphia 76ers odds-on favorites to land Bradley Beal by trading away Tobias Harris to our nation's capital? That's what Bill Simmons said on his podcast. And here's why it makes sense. Prior to the Sixers trading for James Harden, Joel Embiid went up to the front office, according to Simmons, and told them that he actually wanted Bradley Beal over the Beard. Now, that deal did not happen at the time because Bradley Beal got wrist surgery a couple of years ago, and it nixed the acquisition. Now, the organization was also split on the time prior to Bradley Beal undergoing that season-ending surgery. A portion of the front office wanted Bradley Beal, but of course, led by Daryl Morey and his infatuation with James Harden, they decided to go with James Harden, but also the injury played a role in that as well. It also makes sense because if the Sixers do lose James Harden, whether it's a reunion with the Houston Rockets, he goes to the Phoenix Suns, or another team blows him away with an offer, is Beal across the NBA the next best realistic option? I'm talking realistic options here to replace that production that James Harden would leave with. Here's what Simmons had to say on his podcast with Ryan Russillo. My guess, my bet, the odds-on favorite, I would put them minus 200 would be Philadelphia. My odds-on favorite is Philadelphia, and I don't even think it's close. Beal and Joel Embiid, they're friends. Embiid was trying to get him 2 years ago, which I kept telling people on this podcast. They ended up going with Harden instead. Embiid was pushing hard for Beal. Harden is going to leave. That's interesting. Harden is going to leave, according to Simmons. If you're Philly and you are going to lose Harden, and now I have this shooter that's probably a better fit with Embiid anyway, and I have Tobias Harris on an expiring contract, a couple of future draft picks, I could probably throw that. I could probably find it in my pocket somewhere. And if you're Washington, it's like, you know what? We've got out of this Beal contract. Now we have Harris as an expiring contract, and we are rebooting everything. Now, for Washington, they've been irrelevant for a really long time. Even when they were good with John Wall and Bradley Beal, it's not an era that lasted all that long. In the second round, they went 7 games with the Boston Celtics, and that was really the most playoff success that they had. They have completely rebooted that front office, and they have a new president of basketball operations, a new general manager, so they realistically, honestly, could decide to rebuild. Now, a lot left to get to on today's show because there's so much to unpack with this, but first, make sure you subscribe to the show because every move the Sixers make, we cover it. Anytime there's a report or a rumor out there, we talk about it. And we're trying to go live on Wednesday. So again, if you want us to go live, like the video, type yes, hit that sub button as we continue to grow the 76ers Now empire. Now, my thoughts on this entire trade. If it is indeed Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal, I could not say fast enough. Washington could take the picks. And they could take Tobias Harris on that expiring contract because Toby has been a bad fit for this team, and he's been way too expensive for what he's given you or the lack of production, whether it be in the regular season, in the playoffs, and in some of these big games in general. And when you look at the Sixers' potential starting 5 with Bradley Beal, I get really intrigued by it. DeAnthony Melton can be a starting guard in this league. He's a very good bench player, but when you're playing alongside Tyrese Maxey, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid, and PJ Tucker, it's not like you're going to be asked to do all that much. Like 10 points per game is fine when you have Embiid averaging around 30, Maxey averaging 20 plus, and Bradley Beal in that 20 to 30 range as well. PJ Tucker can still give you high-level defense. You have Embiid to give you good defense. Melton, Maxey, good defensive players, and Bradley Beal isn't like an all-NBA caliber defensive player, but he's at least decent and average on that side of the floor. And with what Simmons said, I think Beal is a pretty good fit alongside Joel Embiid. It's not a ball-dominant point guard who sometimes kills the basketball and will bleed the shot clock until 3, just dribbling it forever in James Harden, who needs the ball a lot to facilitate, which is what he does at an elite level, and score the basketball as well. You run that dribble handoff at the top of the key with Embiid, Beal, then you have the action of Maxey, Melton, PJ Tucker off of that. You can manufacture a lot of points, and remember how effective Embiid was at the DHO. That's the dribble handoff when he played with a guy like Seth Curry, as well as J.J. Redick and Bradley Beal, even more of a potent shooter from the outside when you run that type of offensive action. So I do agree with Bill Simmons in that sentiment that Bradley Beal would be a better fit alongside Harden. Now, this might be a tricky question for you all, but we always cook up some heaters for you to respond to down in the comments section. Pick a star. Harden, Beal. Let me know down below in the comments section. As for what Beal's done over the last 4 years, 2019, 2020, and then 2020, 2021, he was one of the better bucket getters in the sport, and his offensive efficiency was out of this world. 30-plus points per game in both of those seasons, 45-plus% in both of those years, and he was right around 35% from 3 with a lot of volume. Last 2 years, though, the numbers have definitely gone down. 2021, 2022, he did suffer that wrist injury. That's why he got surgery, and that's why the numbers weren't all that good. He got off to a really slow start, never recovered. 23 points per game, 6.5 assists, which you'll take. 45% from the field, cool. 30% from 3, not good at all. And then this past year in 50 games, injured once again, but 23 points per game, nearly 51% from the floor, just shy of 37% from 3. Those are very elite numbers. And the dip in production, of course, over the last 2 seasons is a little bit concerning for Bradley Beal. But can Beal's numbers be on the uptick when he's playing alongside the most talented player that he'll ever play alongside in Joel Embiid, running a lot of those offensive actions, whether it be the pick and roll, the pick and pop, the dribble handoff, the Bradley Beal coming off the screen from Embiid, which then gives him more open offensive opportunities, which could then lead to better efficiency for Beal to put the biscuit in the basket. Now, coming up next on the show, I'm going to explain why this trade can work, but some of the difficulties that come with the potential Toby for Beal trade happening. But first, Game 5 of the NBA Finals is tonight in the Mile High City in Denver at Ball Arena, and the Nuggets looking to win their first NBA championship in franchise history by dusting off the Heat 4-1. If they do it, Nikola Jokic, what a run for him, as well as Jamal Murray, and the odds makers really like the Nuggets to win this game. The early line was 9 in favor of Denver. It's now down to 8.5, so some late money coming in on the Miami Heat to at least cover. The over-under set for 210. And if you want to bet on this game, no better sportsbook to do it than with BetUS. Head to chatsports.com/bet. Promo code chat125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get $125 back. Easy math. $225 to game with. You got the NBA, Major League Baseball, and then future bets for the NFL. Once the NFL comes around, best sport to bet on, in my opinion. Now, Bill Simmons saying that it could be Tobias Harris and some picks going to Washington that allows them to reboot that franchise. What's interesting, though, is that the Sixers cannot trade a first-round pick until 2029. There's a weird rule in the NBA in which you can't trade away back-to-back first-round picks in consecutive years. So while the Sixers do have a first-round pick in 2024, 2026, and in 2028, they can't deal away a trade or deal around a first-round pick, or deal away, a first-round pick until 2029. So they do have some good draft capital here over the next couple of years. They gave away a lot of first-round picks in that Ben Simmons, James Harden trade, but can't trade away a first-round pick until 2029. But as always, in life and in basketball, there's always a way to beat the system. They can draft a player and then trade him to Washington, and that's a way for Washington to have a de facto first-round pick if they kind of agree to that behind the scenes. A little bit of a way to beat the system there inside the construct of the rules in the NBA. Why a trade could work, the Wizards, though, they could get Tobias Harris on an expiring deal, as well as some picks and or some pick swaps, and then Washington right away can enter into rebuilding mode. They've already restructured and reshuffled that entire front office. They can get out of that Bradley Beal contract, which he's under contract through 2027. And Tobias Harris is a player where if he goes to Washington, he can give you 20 points per game on 45% shooting from the field and 40% from three. Why do I know that? He's done that before, and he's been a good stats, bad team player for the majority of his career. He could certainly produce, and if he's one of the go-to offensive options, the fit would be better for him on the Wizards than it is with Philadelphia, and then Beal on the Sixers would be a better fit than Tobias Harris. Now, the Beal contract is sizable. This upcoming year, $46.7 million. After that, $50, then $53.5 and $57 million. But you'd be going all in for a guy who does still have some gas left in the tank in Bradley Beal, who's right around the same age, too, as Tobias Harris. And the Toby contract for Philadelphia, it's been a killer. It is not to the level of Bradley Beal's as far as the expense, but that's okay because you're getting a better player in Beal than Tobias Harris, and the fit, if you move off of James Harden or he decides to leave, could be better, thus making you a better basketball team. And also, can Tyrese Maxey continue to make leaps? That's another part of this conversation because the roster that we looked at a little bit earlier, it's Maxey playing the 1, it's DeAnthony Melton at the 2, it's Bradley Beal on the wing, PJ Tucker and Joel Embiid, and Maxey has made strides his first 3 years in the NBA. If he makes another stride forward, then you're looking at a three-headed monster of Maxey, Beal, and Embiid that I think translates well to playoff basketball. You can score a lot of points any given night. The fit is pretty good for all of those players playing with one another, which could lead to a Denver Nuggets-like synergy. And that's why I really like this trade if the Sixers can get rid of Tobias Harris for Bradley Beal. If you include Maxey, I'm not doing it. No chance, no how. So your level of interest in Beal is what? Scale it from 1 to 100. Again, if it's Toby for Beal, I can't say yes fast enough. Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1 not interested, 100 very interested. And if you want to interact with me on Twitter, Instagram, it's the same handle on both. I've had so many of you reach out to me over the last couple of days since I've been plugging my social media pages a lot more. I want to hear from more of you. Don't be shy. Slide in the DMs. Tell me that you came from 76ers now. Let's chop it up. We could talk hoops. We could talk NFL. We could talk health, wealth, and fitness. All that stuff. I'm into it all, as well as rap music as well.